Well, hey family, this is Pastor Jennifer, and we want to welcome you to another episode of Meet Me in the Breakroom. I'm so excited to have with us today Dr. Jennifer Gilmore, who is the Dean of Advisement and Counseling at Hinds Community College. Ms. Gilmore, welcome to the Breakroom.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we're so glad to have you. Dr. Gilmore, tell us about post-secondary education. What is that?
Well, post-secondary education is really past high school, successful completion of high school, and you continue on to post-secondary education. A lot of times people tend to think it's just academics when you go to college, but it can be a variety of things. Career tech courses, career tech colleges, universities, or even just trade schools. So any type of education past high school is considered post-secondary education.
Okay. I'm glad you mentioned trade schools too, because that's something that it seems a lot of people have forgotten about.
Right.
And it's getting harder and harder to find electricians
Right.
and plumbers and things of that nature. What are the benefits to post-secondary education?
Well, of course, it offers a variety of career choices. You know, you can, like I said, you can go to academics and go on to complete a 2-year degree, to a 4-year degree, to complete your master's or even a doctorate. But if you decide to do a trade school or even a trade, it opens up a variety of options for you.
Sure.
From cosmetology to childcare to aviation, nursing is a part of career tech. And so a lot of students come to college and they realize the options that they have and they take advantage of them. So it offers over time. Of course, you make more money.
Sure.
Of course, over time. I can remember being in college myself and realizing that the way out was in education.
Yeah.
You know, that was the way out because I was working and I was working, for minimum wages at the time. And I knew that I would have to work really, really, really hard for the rest of my life. And this would not sustain me for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So college was my way out.
Yeah.
For a lot of students, a lot of children, even older people decide to go back to college. It's a way out. It's a way to, create, get away from generations of poverty. Meet people. You network. You meet
Absolutely.
people. They help you in different walks of life. So I would say post-secondary education is very important
and improves the quality of the life people live.
Definitely.
So what if we've got a student watching today who, is getting ready to graduate high school, or maybe they've graduated, but they weren't sure what next steps were. And now they're saying, I want to go to college, but I don't have any money. What are some options?
Right. Well, we have state funds that students can apply for. It's called MTAG here in Mississippi. And we have federal funds that anybody can apply for. Those funds, if you're in a certain income bracket, you're able to go to college sometimes for free, especially if you choose a community college, because community colleges have lower tuition costs than universities, and sometimes you may or may not stay on campus.
Sure.
And if you don't stay on campus and choose a community college, more often than not, if you receive a Pell Grant, which is money that you don't have to pay back, you can go to school for free.
Wow.
And so if you do need extra funds, you can apply for loans. But another big thing for students in high school is scholarships. There's so many scholarships out there. And it's not just based on your academics or your level, ACT score or anything like that. It can be, I've seen scholarships for students that specifically came from the Delta. We have church scholarships.
Yes.
Different type of fraternity or sorority scholarships. So doing your research on monies and funds that can help you go to college is out there. It's out there. And if you don't know where to get it, you can always speak to someone at the college level, particularly college recruiters. They'll tell you how to get the money to come to their school.
Okay, very good. So what are the different types of post-secondary education?
Well, you have the universities, you have the community colleges, you have trade schools, vocational schools. So there are various types, and they offer some of the similar things. If you're at a community college, you can come for 2 years and pretty much get your prereqs out the way to transfer to a 4-year.
Okay.
So you transfer, whereas you would stay at a university for 4 years. If you go to a community college first, you get your 2 years out the way, and then you can transfer to a 4-year.
Okay,
You
and
have 2 years left.
and so how do you transfer?
Okay, in transferring, I would tell a student to particularly look at the school that they're interested in transferring to.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times they think if I'm at a community college, they will ask you the question, how do I transfer?
Mm-hmm.
Look at the requirements at the school that you're interested in
Mm-hmm.
and see what they're asking for. More often than not, it's 30 hours, transfer credits completed at a community college.
Mm-hmm.
It's specific hours.
Mm-hmm.
They can lay that out for you, but you'll get them if you go to any public community colleges. You
Mm-hmm.
just finish the 62 hours, which that's how many hours it takes to graduate,
Mm-hmm.
and you will have those 30 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're interested in going to a 4-year institution, look at their requirements, look at the program that you're interested in,
Mm-hmm.
apply for admissions
Mm-hmm.
at that institution.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another thing, they have transfer scholarships a lot of times for students that
Okay.
do well at the community college. They can transfer to a 4-year college, and if they got the first 2 years free, there's a chance they can get the next 2 years free also.
Okay. What are the differences between an undergraduate degree and a graduate degree?
Okay. An undergraduate degree would be considered AA, which is at the community college level,
Mm-hmm.
or even a bachelor's level, which is at the university. Undergraduate AA is 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
4 years for a bachelor's. You
Mm-hmm.
can go on and get specialists. Most of the time, it's another 15 to 18 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, master's,
Mhm.
15 to 18 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get a specialist or a doctorate degree on a graduate level. So master's, specialist, and doctorate is considered graduate.
Mm-hmm.
Associate or a bachelor's is considered undergraduate.
Okay. What are some good questions that potential students need to be asking when they're going on college recruitment tours and things of that nature? Or if they have college recruiters coming to their high school, what are the questions they need to be asking those recruiters?
One of the things I would say, definitely ask, what type of programs does your college offer?
Mm-hmm.
Because every college do not offer the same thing.
Right.
So you may be interested in a particular major and realize you get to this school or this college and they don't offer.
They're not even geared toward
Right,
that. Mm-hmm.
exactly. So you want to know that your program of study is being offered at the school that you're interested in.
Mm-hmm.
You want to ask about scholarship opportunities.
Mhm.
You know, what type of funding do you have to assist me? You
Mm-hmm.
want to ask about support services.
Mm-hmm.
You know, support services can be inclusive of academic advising, counseling, disability support services, health services, career options. What type of services do you offer
Mm-hmm.
at your institution? Another good one that I like to tell students to ask, what's the graduation rates at your school?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because a
students
lot of
getting
people
out?
start, but
Right.
are they finishing?
Right.
Are they finishing successfully?
Right.
And at what point in high school do students need to be planning for graduation?
I
You know,
think-
what they're going to do post graduation.
As early as possible.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I would say 7th to 8th grade. You know,
Mhm.
once you start in that middle school year,
Mm-hmm.
that's the time to start preparing for college. One of the things that I really want to mention is a lot of times students take a placement test. You have to take a placement test in order to be admitted into any school, whether it's
Mhm.
community college or university.
Right.
A lot of times they think I took the test, I took ACT,
Mm-hmm.
number
Mm-hmm.
one.
And they're taking that earlier and earlier now.
And it's
Mhm.
for a reason.
Mhm.
And sometimes they don't know the value of that ACT.
Right.
The ACT can get you money, free money to school.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing it does is we're looking at ACT. You may make a 18
Mhm.
and you think you've done well.
Mm-hmm.
But when you come to college,
Mm-hmm.
we look at placement. We look at your individual scores. We look at what
Right.
you make in reading,
Mm-hmm.
math, and English. If you score sometimes less than like a 16,
Mm-hmm.
it's a chance you're going to take developmental courses.
Mm-hmm.
Students don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I made an 18. We're not looking at the overall. That's for admissions. But when it comes down to putting you in classes, we look at sub-scores.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to do well in those areas in order
Mhm.
to avoid the developmental courses.
Right.
Another thing about the ACT, if you don't do well,
Mm-hmm.
most schools offer a placement test called Accuplacer. You
Okay.
can take that on site.
Mm-hmm.
And if you didn't do well in the ACT, you can test out with the Accuplacer. So
Mhm.
that's something I would tell students to ask for also.
Absolutely.
You may get admitted on your ACT score, but you can avoid developmental education by taking the Accuplacer at your institution.
Okay. And so they just ask
Right.
upon admission.
Right.
Okay.
Upon advising.
Okay. Very good. What type of support services do most colleges offer?
Most colleges offer. Academic advisement is considered a
Mm-hmm.
support service.
Mm-hmm.
Just about every service that's offered on the campus has support for you.
Okay.
Financial aid,
Mm-hmm.
again, disability support services,
Mm-hmm.
health services, career options,
Mhm.
tutoring.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of students don't know that, and a lot of students don't take advantage of it.
Right.
High school and college is totally different.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And that's a big thing. It's a big adjustment for students.
Yeah, you've even seen students who did very well in high school get to college and not do well
Right.
at all because it's just so different. The learning pace is
Right.
different.
Right.
The environment is different.
Right. They're adjusting. They're away from home. I was one of those students. It took me 5 years to get my bachelor's degree. A lot of people don't know that. And I'm not ashamed of it at all.
No.
It took 5 years because I had a 3.7 in high school. We got to college and realized I was not prepared.
Yeah.
Sometimes it depends on where you go to school at.
And
For me, where I came from, I wasn't prepared for college at all. And so it took a lot of reassessing,
right.
A lot of encouraging myself, utilizing those support services that they had available on campus to realize the difference between college and high school.
Right.
You know, and I think that's one of the biggest reasons why students drop out, because it's a big adjustment. In high school, it's pretty much structured.
Right. It is. Everything's pretty much determined for you for the most part. The choices you have are minimal. So, yeah.
But in college, it's on you.
Absolutely.
It's very flexible. You get to choose when you want to go to class. And a lot of students think, oh, this is great.
Right.
Until you have to balance it.
And they're not going to call your mama to say, you know, so-and-so didn't come to class today. That's all on you.
That's right. You're considered a student. And you're considered, for the most part, an adult. And you actually sign a form called FERPA form once you get there. And you're called an eligible student at this point. So I can't, if you tell me not to disclose anything to your parents, I can't disclose it.
Wow.
So they have that autonomy once they get there. But I tell students, you have that right, but I would encourage you to have someone, at least that first year.
Right.
That's been there, that kind of knows, you know, someone to help you out throughout that first year.
And who can help you get back on course if you get off.
Right. Yeah. Because maturity, you know, at that level, you know, some students are just not ready for the flexibility that college offers.
And the freedom.
No curfew.
What about extracurricular activities? What are some of the extracurricular activities that students can expect?
Well, number one thing students will think about is sports.
Right.
And sometimes they think that's the only thing, but it's not. You can join clubs. Internships will be considered extracurricular. One of the things I wish I would have taken advantage of was study abroad. You can go and study in another country. You know, those are good things. The band, the choir, all of those are considered things that you can do extracurricular. But make sure your focus is still academics. Those things shouldn't take you away from what you came to school for. You know, be sure to be able to make that balance between extracurricular activities and your academics.
Okay, very good. So let's just talk about it a little bit. What is it like for students when they first come to that college campus? I know I went to Millsaps, and so there were a couple of things we had to do as freshmen, you know, for orientation. But I know it was very different for me at Millsaps than it was at the public school that I came up in. The environment was completely different. The professors' teaching methods was very different. So what is it like for these students when they're having to navigate this new environment?
It's kind of, for a lot of them, it's overwhelming for them. Where I work, I try to ease that anxiety for a lot of students because it's so new and you don't have that support of mom or dad or even friends. The same friends that you had in high school, you may not choose the same career path that you chose. Right. And so there are mandated, some classes are mandated, such as orientation. What I found was, you think, oh, I want to be a counselor. So my thought process is, I'm going to college and I'm going to take counseling classes. Right. But what you find is, those first 2 years, you're pretty much repeating some of the same classes that you took in high school.
Absolutely.
And that's discouraging sometimes for
Right.
because they say, I don't need this.
Mm-hmm.
But you do need it because it's a path to get to where you're going.
That's right.
You really don't start diving into your major classes until your junior or senior year.
Mm-hmm.
So for students, that's a hard transition.
Right.
Sometimes that's a hard reality for them to accept.
Mm-hmm.
But we tell them, just get through it. Just
Right.
get through these 2 years. And then once you get to, if you're at a community college, once you get to a 4-year, or even if you're at a university, once you get to your junior year,
Mm-hmm.
you start to take classes that you really love, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the hardest years are the first and second year. We mostly lose students between 1 year and 2 years.
What are the advantages to going to a community college first as opposed to starting out at a 4-year university?
Well, the admissions policy is not as strict
Mm-hmm.
at a community college.
Mm-hmm.
We pretty much accept anybody. If you're willing
Mm-hmm.
to come to school and take the placement test, we really accept you.
Mm-hmm.
Tuition is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
You can save.
Especially if you're going to be doing the same courses at either
right.
place.
Exactly right. Now, I've had the privilege of working at a university
Mm-hmm.
and a community college.
Sure.
And when it comes to money,
Mm-hmm.
I would say I would choose community college any day.
Yeah.
So that's definitely an advantage.
Mm-hmm.
At some community colleges, smaller classrooms.
Mm-hmm.
At some of them,
Mm-hmm.
much smaller classrooms than the universities, and it's a little bit more nurturing
Mm-hmm.
at a community college versus a university. Some people would say at a university you're just a number. I wouldn't say that.
Right.
I wouldn't say that, but it does depend on where you go
Mm-hmm. And how large the
institution.
begin. Yeah.
Exactly right. So those are some of the advantages of going to a community college. Whereas if you go to a university, then you take ownership.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is
Mm-hmm.
my school, and
Mm-hmm.
you can have the Facebook beefs with other schools. You know,
right. So how does, when a student graduates from high school, they're coming into college, be it a community college or a 4-year college or university, how do they know what classes to enroll in?
Well, most schools have a curriculum now,
Mm-hmm.
or they may call it pathways.
Mm-hmm.
It pretty much lays out the classes that you would need to complete your degree.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the times it's divided by semesters.
Mm-hmm.
First semester, second semester, third semester. So
Mm-hmm.
it's exactly what you need to take. You have a
Right.
clear path
Mm-hmm.
on the courses that you need to enroll in. But what we find is a lot of students are undecided. I
Right.
don't know what I want to major in.
Mm-hmm.
And schools are aware of that. So
Yeah.
sometimes they don't even allow students to declare a major
Okay.
until their junior year.
Gotcha.
They give them time to decide what they want to do, get a feel for classes. They may take a class as an elective to
Mm-hmm.
decide if they like this or not.
Mm-hmm.
So and if you don't know what you want to do, I would suggest most as a support service,
Mm-hmm.
career service inventories,
Okay.
where you can take these little bit exams that ask very simple questions. You
Mm-hmm.
know, do you like nailing on wood or brick? It's
Yeah.
simple questions, but at the end it formulates good career choices that will be good for you.
Mm-hmm. Things that are best suited
Right.
to the
For your
areas of your
personality.
gifting.
Mhm.
Okay, very good. What aspect of post-secondary education do you find most challenging?
I would say academics.
Mm-hmm.
It's different.
Mm-hmm.
You may not, every instructor is not going to teach the same.
Right.
It's not holding your hand.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the choices depend on you.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So a lot of the students who are longing for that freedom,
Mhm.
longing to be grown, as we
Right.
call it, you have to understand the responsibility that comes along with that. That
Exactly.
whereas before certain things were on mom or dad,
Right.
or certain things were on this one or that one, now it's all on you
It's all
pretty
on you,
much.
right.
Yeah.
You can set your schedule how you want to.
Mm-hmm.
You may decide to have classes from 10 to 2,
Mm-hmm.
but you got to get there at 10 now.
Right.
And if you may have a 12 o'clock class,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody else want to hang out for lunch.
Right.
You have to make the mature decision to go to class.
Right.
And you can't miss too many.
Right.
It's not a whole lot of grace like it was in
Mhm.
high school.
Mm-hmm.
You may get 3 classes a semester
Yeah.
to miss.
Yeah.
And if you don't, the instructor can drop you from the class. Now you're
Mhm.
wasting time and money.
Right. Let's talk about that too, because sometimes students will, sign up for 4 classes or 5 classes,
Mhm.
and they get in and it's harder than they thought. their load is heavier and they drop that class.
Mm-hmm.
How does dropping classes long term begin to affect the GPA, begin to affect, the time that they graduate?
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, if you drop a class, you have a certain amount of time to drop a class. Very small window.
Mm-hmm.
We call it drop an ad.
Okay, drop an ad.
We would encourage you to add if you drop something that's getting you closer to your degree.
Right.
If you don't, and you just say, I'm going to take, and I would encourage students to take 15 hours every semester, minimum, to get out in a timely manner. You can get out in 4 years anywhere, or 2 years if you take 15 hours a semester. 15 hours is 5 classes, 3 hours a piece. But if you continue to drop, it affects your financial aid. It affects your award.
Gotcha.
So you have attempted hours versus past hours. If that attempt get higher than the pass, you can lose your aid.
Wow.
And if you lose your aid, you can't continue school unless you're going to pay out of your pocket. So long term, it's going to take you longer to get out. And you're going to lose money.
How does a dropped class affect your GPA?
Well,
or does it?
It does. It depends on if you drop it in the drop ad period, it's like it never happened.
Okay.
But that window's very small, maybe 2 to 3 days. Sometimes 4 or 5, just depends on where you go. But if you get a W,
withdrawn,
right, you get the withdrawn, then that starts to affect your GPA over time.
Gotcha.
Because it does count into the attempted hours. You try to take these hours. You may enroll in 18 and drop down to 12. Well, that's 6 hours that you attempt. That's 18 hours you attempted, but only passed 12.
Right.
So eventually, next semester, you can't do that again.
Right.
Because that attempt is still going up. And the pass is going to still, be right there. So it does affect you over time. And then you get on, they give you warnings for financial aid. You get a warning. And then you can get on probation and eventually suspension.
Okay.
And once you get there.
So once a person gets a suspension.
Most times they have to sit out for a year.
Okay.
A year.
And so can they go to another community college?
No,
okay.
They won't accept them. You can't go because if you have suspension, if you're not in good standing with the institution that you left, it used to be like that.
Right.
And don't think you cannot tell them because all they have to do is put your social security number in the system
and it's coming
and it
up.
populates. Right. And so it'll show unusual enrollment. And then they do the investigation and find that you were suspended at another institution and you can't enroll for a year.
Right. So, and especially if you haven't paid that other institution, they don't trust you to pay them.
Exactly. Because it's all federal money or state money. Now, if you're paying out of pocket,
that's on you.
That's on you.
So what is the best advice you could give to incoming students that are enrolling in a community college or 4-year college or university? What's the best advice you can give them?
I would tell them to do your research prior to coming to any institution. It has to be a good fit for you, for you as the student.
And it can't be just a good fit for you because it was a good fit for your family.
That's exactly where I was going.
Yeah.
That is so important.
Yeah.
Not just the institution, but your major. I saw a sermon that said, chase purpose and not paper. Like paper in terms of money.
Right.
So chase your purpose, And if you're walking or you're doing a major that it could be music. A lot of times students are interested in music.
Sure.
Or anything. And because mom or dad said, you're not going to make any money. But that's part of their purpose.
That's right.
So if you walk in your purpose, money will come. So do your research, find out what's a good fit for you and what's a good major for you. It doesn't matter if mom and dad was a doctor.
Right.
Matter,
Right. You may not necessarily be a doctor.
Right. And I know people, the career tech path is a really good path. If you're not a person that's big on academics and but you want a job and you will still get a degree. You'll get an AA degree and you can go to work after that 2-year degree with a certificate or even a diploma. So if you're not big on that and you want to go into welders make plenty of them.
Absolutely.
Cosmetologists make plenty.
Yep.
Aviation.
Absolutely.
You can fly planes with a 2-year degree. You can do
I didn't know that.
Yes, and my school does offer that.
Okay.
So there are things that you can do to make money, but do what you love. That's what I would tell any student. Find a good school, a good path for you, and do what you love.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love the fact that you talked about purpose
Right.
and really chasing purpose over paper.
Right.
The Bible says, seek first the kingdom of God,
Right.
his righteousness. All these other things will be added to you. When you really tap into purpose,
Right.
God has a way of causing everything else to fall in place.
That's right.
So you are Dr. Jennifer Gilmore.
Right.
Tell us about your path.
My path.
Mhm.
I started, of course, high school, graduated,
Mm-hmm.
and I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to be a physical therapist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so when I went to college, I realized the sciences were not for me.
Mm-hmm.
The biologies, the chemistries, I said, no, that's not going to work for me.
Uh-huh.
So what I actually did was I took a career inventory test.
Okay.
And it said that I would be good in the helping profession.
Mm-hmm.
And then it lists jobs that would be good for me, and counseling was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, oh, because initially you think counseling,
Mm-hmm.
I give people advice all the time. I'm going to be good at this,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole nother realm of counseling that I had no idea of. And so anyway, I went on to complete my bachelor's, and then I went back to school for counseling because you can't get a bachelor's degree in counseling.
Right.
And I went back.
So where did you get your bachelor's degree?
It was
in?
really in early childhood education.
Okay.
And so I had a specialist. My specialization was special education because I thought I wanted to teach. That's a helping profession as well. Didn't work out. So I went on to get my master's in counseling because that's what I really wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And after I got my master's, I got a job as a liaison, like going into people's homes, helping them with their babies and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then a position. It's kind of funny how my path has been because it's been adolescent, it's babies to adolescents to young adults.
Mm-hmm.
I probably end up with older people later on in life, but right now, a job became available as a GED instructor.
Okay.
And I taught GED for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And after I taught GED for 2 years, I was promoted to the director of the program.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did that for another 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I would bring the students in the GED program to universities. I wanted them to have the same experience that students in high school had.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they was trying to get their GED, I didn't want them to feel like they was missing anything.
Mm-hmm.
So we did college tours.
Yeah,
we did.
absolutely.
And I came to Jackson State,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember the feeling that I had at that university.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I would love to work here.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I said to myself. And so I started applying for jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And I lived in the Delta at the time. And my first, I applied in December. I didn't get a call till around April.
Mm-hmm.
And I applied, I interviewed, I got the job.
Wow.
And I stayed at Jackson State for 11 years actually.
Mm-hmm.
And while there, I went on to get my PhD.
Mm-hmm.
And once I got my PhD, I left there in 2019, and I've been Hinds ever since.
Okay.
So I would say my steps have been ordered.
Absolutely.
God has definitely ordered my steps, and it speaks to what we talked about earlier, your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love what I do.
Yeah.
I love going to work. I love people. I love helping people.
Mm-hmm.
So my career inventory was correct.
Mm-hmm.
The helping profession, just not the profession I thought
Right.
initially
Mm-hmm.
that I would be in. But as I worked,
Mm-hmm.
I continued to get more and more education.
Mm-hmm.
There were times where I saw people pass over because they didn't have the right credentials.
Right.
But they were doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another reason why post-secondary education is so important.
Right.
You may have the experience, but not the credentials.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always better to continue to educate yourself as much as you can,
Right.
to qualify
Mm-hmm.
for certain positions. And most times, more education offers more money.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's never been about the money. It has
Right.
never, ever been about the money.
But that's why God could trust you with money.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right. And I know this cliche, and a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
say this,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't worry about money. And I don't worry about my next position.
Mm-hmm.
I know without every job that I have got, every single job I've ever got, God has ordained.
Mm-hmm.
I know that to be true.
Yeah.
I haven't done anything. I don't step on Peter to get the. I don't do
Right.
that.
Right.
I don't try to self-promote myself. Don't
Mm-hmm.
do it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
talk to this person. See, can I get
Right.
the hookup?
Mm-hmm.
I just do the work.
That's right.
I just do the work.
Yeah.
And
Well, the Bible says your giftings will make room for you.
that's right.
And so many times when you're doing the work that God has put within your hands to do,
Right.
it is a career path. It's the path, one step leads to the next step, and God continues to order those steps to light up your pathway and to open the doors that need to be opened, to close the doors that need to be shut. So it has been such a joy to be a part of your journey and to watch, how God is just continually doing things. Right. But it's truly because of you trusting Him and because of you allowing Him to open the doors and order the steps.
I definitely have. And one of the things when I was in my PhD program, one of the first questions they asked, what do you want to do once you graduate? I never had the answer. I said, whatever God leads me. And that was the truth. And a lot of people don't believe. I said, the formula is Christ. The formula is Christ. This is how you succeed in life. Yeah. So a lot of people don't believe that and they think you're just saying something. But it's just how I operate.
Yeah. So I asked you about your journey because of people watching, who may be in a similar position where they just don't know, but they're willing, and their heart is open to whatever God would have to say. That's why I asked you to share that, because it's okay not to have all the answers up front.
That's exactly
it's okay not to know immediately out of high school what you want to do. But if you wait on Him, He will definitely make it clear.
And do the work, no matter what area you're
above all things. Yeah.
Whatever you're doing, whatever it is that you're doing, whether you're a janitor, do the work. And your boss is Christ. Your boss is God.
That's right.
And He sees it. And if you do the work unto Him, promotion comes from Christ.
That's right.
That's where it comes from.
It does.
And so many people have failed. I've seen it. I've seen it.
Because they've tried to please people.
That's right. Self-promotion.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Sometimes it looks like you're getting overlooked. Don't worry about it. Just keep doing the work. Do the work.
And you're encouraging somebody now who may not even be a high school student. It may have nothing to do with college or university. It may just have to do with where they are in their placement right now on their job. That they may have gotten discouraged, feel like they're overlooked, feel like their work is not appreciated. But you're a testimony to the fact that if you do what you do as unto the Lord, do it and do it well. God will handle the rest.
He will.
Absolutely. Well, this has been a great conversation. Is there anything else you want to add? Because I know, we're getting close to graduation for this year. There may be some students who are watching or some parents of students who are watching, and they may not have these things in place yet. So for those who are a little behind the eight ball, so to speak, what's some advice you would give to them?
I would say now is a good time to start doing college tours, visiting some of the schools that you're interested in. It's kind of slow at colleges right now because we're preparing for the upcoming semester.
Right. So
this would be a good time to get in and speak to counselors, whether it be admissions, recruiters, or academic advisors. This is a good time to actually come in and speak to those people in charge that will help you and guide you on the right path. Registration begins, it gets chaotic. It's not a whole lot of time to answer questions, but right now is a great time to start doing those visitations with the schools that you're interested in and start making some decisions. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. You could have known from 3 years old that you was going to go to a particular college.
Right.
But still apply. You never know the offers that you would get at various colleges. I tell students, try to apply to minimum 3 institutions. Minimum. 10 is great. Right. 3 minimum. And you get offers, that you probably never thought that you would get. So that's what I'll be doing right now this March. You graduate in May. Don't wait. Above all, don't wait until the last minute. If you come in early, you can get better classes, better times. We do have a lot of online options as well. You don't necessarily have to go to school anymore to get a degree. Yeah. So online options are definitely available for students if they're interested, especially in the age of COVID, in the era of COVID. So start now, start early, and start applying.
Okay, very good. Well, this has been extremely informative, and I believe that the trajectory of some students' lives are going to be changed just from the information that has been shared here today. And is there anything else you would like to add? All right.
Thank you.
Well, we appreciate your time. And listen, we are excited that you have joined us today. If you've been blessed by the information shared, if you know someone who needs this information, feel free to share it, tag a friend, tag your family members. And by all means, we want you to join us back next week at the same time, same place. Until then, it is my sincere prayer that God's best would be yours in every area of your life. Y'all go and make today a great day.